She looked dead into the camera, took a breath like she was about to deliver the Gettysburg Address, and then told the entire internet she is not number 2 to nobody. And the name she dropped right after that sentence is the reason DAZN's subscriber dashboard has been bleeding for 2 weeks straight, the reason Papoose's Instagram is now being treated like a crime scene, and the reason Aya Wilson does not have to say a single word to win this whole conversation. Claressa Shields, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed multiple division world champion, and self-appointed GWAT, really thought sitting down with Alton Walker and lining herself up next to Muhammad Ali, Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James was going to be the moment the culture finally bent the knee. Instead, she signed her own PR death certificate in HD on a national platform, with a caption box wide open underneath it for the entire internet to grab a screenshot. And here is the part that should terrify her team. If she still has a team, the clip is not the problem. The clip is the symptom. The problem is the pattern behind the clip, the timeline that lines up too clean to be a coincidence, the phantom Instagram posts coming from a man whose vocabulary does not match the caption, the corporate broadcaster tweeting like a sliding-in DMS uncle, and the 8 bars from Remy that Claressa has been unable to stop responding to for 6 straight months. Everybody is watching the wrong fight. The real fight is not Claressa versus Remy. It is not Claressa versus Cardi. It is not even Claressa versus Aya. The real fight is Claressa versus the version of herself she keeps trying to sell. And when we get to the DAZN language breakdown later in this video, and I promise you we are getting there, you are going to understand why the sponsors already made their decision a long time ago. This is not a beef story. This is a case study. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Now let me set this up right, because a lot of y'all are jumping into this in the middle, and you need the full picture before we start pulling receipts. Claressa Shields is, on paper, one of the most decorated boxers in American history. 2 Olympic gold medals in back-to-back games. Undisputed champion in multiple weight classes. World titles that stack so high she genuinely does have a case for being the greatest women's boxer of this era. Nobody in this video is going to argue with her resume, because her resume is not the issue. The issue is what she has done with the microphone every single time somebody has handed one to her over the last 12 months. Because somewhere between the last Olympic cycle and this current promotional run, Claressa stopped being a boxer with a media presence and turned into a media presence with a boxing career on the side. And the culture has noticed. On the other side of this whole situation, you have Remy, a woman who has been in the rap game for more than 2 decades, who survived 6 years of incarceration, who came home and immediately reclaimed her position without begging for it, and who is currently running the most efficient psychological operation in hip-hop right now while barely lifting a finger. And in the middle you have Papoose, once known as one of the sharpest punchline rappers in New York, once married to Remy for 9 years, now standing in the strangest public position of his entire career, attached to Claressa, watching his own Instagram get treated like a shared notes app, and slowly getting reframed from Punchline King to Claressa's boyfriend in real time. That is the triangle. The stakes are not just personal. Musically, this is happening at the exact moment women's boxing is trying to break into mainstream premium sports coverage. Culturally, this is happening at the exact moment hip-hop is watching to see whether the wife of a legend gets clowned or gets protected. Financially, this is happening at the exact moment DAZN, Zeus Network, and multiple promotional partners are trying to sell overlapping fight cards to the same demographic. And reputationally, this is happening at the exact moment where every sponsor in America is watching how female athletes handle themselves in public before writing the next round of endorsement checks. So when Claressa sat down with Alton Walker and delivered that "I'm the one, not the two" line, she was not just talking to her fans. She was talking to boardrooms. And the boardrooms heard something very different than what she thought she was saying. So the question is not whether Claressa is a great boxer. The question is why a great boxer keeps forcing us to talk about everything except the boxing, and who benefits when she does. Alright, let's get into the actual evidence, because this whole story lives and dies by what is on tape, on screen, and on the timeline. And the first piece is the clip itself. In early November of 2025, Claressa sat down with Alton Walker for what should have been a standard promotional interview, and instead delivered the sentence that broke the internet. She said, and I am quoting her directly, "My greatness is so many other things, but also too, I am the best at what I do in boxing. I'm not second place. I'm the one, not the two. I don't do second place. I never have. Always the one, never the two. I got 2 Olympic gold medals, 19 world championships. Why would I have to be second place to another woman for? Like, what do I look like? Bruh. I had to pause the clip and just sit in silence for a full minute. That is not the energy of a champion sending a message. That is the energy of somebody who lost an argument in the group chat and is still typing 3 days later. Champions do not have to remind you they are champions. Champions collect the belts, cash the checks, and let the record speak. But Claressa said, "I'm the one, not the two," so many times in one sentence it started to sound like an affirmation she was practicing in the mirror before the interview. And the second she said it, the internet knew that was not a mission statement. That was a subtweet with cameras rolling. That was the first piece of evidence, and it broke the timeline wide open. Then, in the same clip, she doubled down and did the unthinkable. She compared herself to Muhammad Ali, Serena Williams, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James in the same breath. Her exact words, "They didn't love them when they were great." And that's just the truth. Like I hear people talk about LeBron, "Oh, he flopped and do all this stuff." Talk about Serena, "Oh, how she looked, how she was too big, how she was too strong." Talk about how Muhammad Ali was too loud, he was too bravado, he was too confident. Talk about Jordan, "Oh, he wasn't that great cuz if he would have played in this era." Now we talking about Claressa Shields in that same category because I'm a great. Now hold on. Hold all the way on. You cannot put yourself in a sentence with Muhammad Ali and expect grown people to keep a straight face. Muhammad Ali is not just a boxer, he is a global cultural monument, a civil rights figure, a man who lost the prime of his career fighting the American government and still came back to fight in Zaire. Serena is a generational tennis phenomenon whose sneakers alone print money. Jordan is the reason an entire generation of kids know what a Jumpman logo looks like before they know their own zip code. And LeBron owns a media empire that could survive without him. Claressa has an incredible boxing resume, and that resume deserves respect, but resume is not the same thing as cultural impact, and cultural impact is not something you nominate yourself for. The culture nominates you. And the culture, based on how this clip landed, has not sent Claressa the invitation. Now, let's talk about the Papoose Instagram post. On September 25, 2025, an official post went up on Papoose's Instagram with a caption that said, "Claressa has a big heart. She has small hands, small feet, and some unbelievably smooth-ass skin. Very beautiful black woman." I read that caption 3 times. 3 times. Because that is not Papoose vocabulary. This is a man whose entire career was built on a reputation for lyrical technicality. A rapper who used to release themed mixtapes based on the alphabet as flex exercises. That man does not caption his girlfriend's picture with smooth-ass skin. That is language from somebody who wants to compliment herself and is using a man's account to do it. And the internet, without needing a private investigator, caught it inside of an hour. Fourth piece of evidence, the BET Awards blow-up. After the June 2025 BET Awards, when Aya Wilson won Sportswoman of the Year, a post went up from Papoose's page accusing BET of robbing Claressa 2 years running, and Claressa herself later confirmed on Instagram that she was happy her man spoke out. And here is where the math stops mathing. Aya Wilson in that award window was WNBA champion, Finals MVP, League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Scoring Champion, and Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. Claressa herself, 1 year earlier, publicly dragged Angel Reese and demanded people respect accolades. So if accolades are the standard when it benefits Claressa, but suddenly accolades are irrelevant when the trophy goes to Aya, that is not a principle, that is a preference. And the culture caught that too. Fifth piece, and this one is the most surreal. On June 30th, 2025, the verified DAZN boxing account, a publicly traded broadcast partner, tweeted, "Claressa Shields is so sexy and thick." Bruh. When I tell you I did a double take, I did a triple take. That is not sports coverage. That is not hype language. That is not brand voice. That is Twitter finger energy from somebody who forgot which account they were logged into. And DAZN never issued a formal correction. That silence is louder than the tweet. And oh, do I have more for you? Because if you thought the surface evidence was bad, the interview, the Instagram post, the BET meltdown, the DAZN tweet, I promise you, we have not even started. The stuff we are about to get into is the reason her team should have booked her on a silent retreat 6 months ago. Because everything I just showed you is what the public can see. What is coming next is what the industry is quietly whispering to each other in the group chat sponsors do not put in press releases. And I know some of Claressa's fans are already typing in the comments, "This is a hit piece. Y'all just hate a strong black woman." Nah, save that. This is a receipt piece. The receipts do not have feelings. Stay locked in, because the next section is where the timeline stops being a coincidence. Now let's get into the cultural evidence, because this is where the whole picture starts to shift from one bad interview into a documented 6-month pattern. First piece, the Remy Ma bar. In October of 2025, Remy Ma hopped on Connie Diamond's record and delivered 8 bars that included the line, "You number 2, and you mad I'm the one." Read that line. Then read Claressa's line again, "I'm the one, not the 2." Same cadence, same word structure, same number system. Claressa did not just make up "I'm the one, not the 2" out of thin air. She lifted Remy's own bar, rearranged the syntax, and delivered it as if it was original confidence. And that, right there, is the trap she does not see. Because if you have to steal your rival's cadence to prove you are better than your rival, you already lost the exchange. That is not a mic drop. That is a hostage tape wearing a mic drop's clothes. Second piece, the Cardi B timing. That small hands, small feet, smooth skin post did not go up in a vacuum. It went up during a media week where Cardi B, Remy Ma's real-life best friend, was doing press for her new album. Cardi has famously described her own small frame and small features for years. So a post from Papoose's page suddenly praising Claressa for those exact features, on the exact media cycle Cardi was dominating, is not a coincidence. That is a signal flare aimed at Remy's best friend disguised as a love post. The internet caught it in real time. Third piece, the Complex feature. Complex ran a piece titled Claressa Shields Recalls How Papoose Romance Began. And in that piece, Remy Ma is credited with outing the Papoose, Claressa relationship first, back in 2024. That is critical context, because it means every single move Claressa has made publicly since. The interviews, the "I'm the one" refrains, the sit-downs where Cardi B keeps getting brought up unprompted, is being read by the culture against a backdrop where Remy already told the world how the story started. Claressa is not writing the narrative. She is playing catch-up inside somebody else's narrative and pretending she is in charge of the pen. Fourth piece, the alleged Reddit call-in. There's a widely circulated Reddit thread from October 2025 that documents Claressa allegedly calling into a radio show pretending to be a fan to defend herself. I want to be careful here. That is an allegation. It is reportedly what happened, and I am not going to state it as confirmed fact. But even if it is only 50% true, the fact that the perception is locked in tells you everything about how the culture is currently reading her. When your fan base and your critics both believe you are calling into radio shows in disguise, it does not matter whether you did or not. The damage is already done. That is what happens when there is no real advisor in the room telling you to log off. Fifth piece, the Vibe framing. Vibe magazine ran the Remy diss as Remy Ma sends shot at Claressa Shields on new Connie Diamond track, and their framing was clear. Remy is the aggressor. Claressa is the target. But look at Claressa's reaction pattern. Targets do not respond for 6 straight months. Targets do not restructure their entire public persona around answering an 8-bar verse. Targets go quiet, keep working, and let the moment pass. Claressa did the opposite, which means either the framing is wrong or Claressa is doing everything humanly possible to invert the framing in real time. Now, I have to be fair here. Some voices in Claressa's corner have said this whole conversation is misogynistic, that the internet is only this hard on her because she is a confident black woman in a sport that has historically underpaid and underpromoted women. And I want to say clearly, there is a real and valid conversation to be had about how women in boxing are covered, sponsored, and compensated. That conversation is legitimate, but it does not apply to this specific situation, because nobody is criticizing Claressa for being a great boxer. Nobody is criticizing her for demanding equal pay. People are pointing at specific statements on specific dates from specific accounts aimed at specific people. That is not misogyny. That is accountability with a timestamp. Sixth piece, and this is the one that reframes everything, the Bin News framing. Bin reported on the BET situation with a critical eye and pointed out that fans were dragging Claressa for being ungrateful in the comment sections. That is important, because Bin is a black-owned news outlet with a black audience, which means the criticism is not coming from some racist corner of the internet. It is coming from the exact community Claressa claims to represent. And when your own community is calling you out on a black-owned platform, misogyny is not the excuse anymore. That is your people telling you to sit down. Seventh piece, the deleted post pattern. Multiple observers have reportedly noted that certain posts on Papoose's page have appeared and disappeared at strategic moments. I want to be careful again, reportedly, allegedly, per social media chatter. But the pattern of appearance and deletion, if accurate, is textbook damage control from somebody who is posting emotionally, panicking, and then trying to erase the evidence. That is not the behavior of a couple in love. That is the behavior of a public account being operated in crisis mode. Now, that shift from love story to crisis management is what tells you the real conversation is not about Claressa versus Remy at all. And now let me hit you with the gear shift, because everything we just talked about is the surface of what is actually going on. Here is where I am going to lose some of you, and I am telling you right now to stay with me, because this is the part they do not want you to think about. Everybody is treating this like a beef story. It is not a beef story. It is not a relationship story. It is not even a diss track story. What we are actually watching is a business collapse in slow motion, and the timeline lines up too cleanly to be an accident. Let me break it down. First, systemic angle, the promotional overlap crisis. That DAZN tweet did not happen in a vacuum. It happened during a promotional push tied to a fight card that had DAZN, Zeus Network, and other promotional partners all trying to sell the same pay-per-view audience simultaneously. 3 brand ecosystems, 1 target market, 1 shared talent. When a corporate broadcaster tweets like a groupie in the middle of that kind of push, it does not just embarrass the athlete. It creates real friction between the promotional partners. Zeus Network is a subscription platform. DAZN is a subscription platform. Both are competing for the same wallet share. And when DAZN's official account starts posting like a fan account, the professional partners on the other side of the deal start asking whether their brand is being protected. Sponsors do not spend big money endorsement dollars on situations where the broadcaster looks like an amateur. That tweet was not just embarrassing. It was a signal to every future sponsor that this ecosystem does not have adult supervision. Second, systemic angle, the sponsorship gap. Everybody keeps asking why Claressa does not have the endorsement portfolio of Serena or the media empire of LeBron. The mainstream answer is misogyny. The industry answer is different. The industry answer is that sponsors do not invest in unpredictable public conduct. Sponsors do not care how many belts you have if they cannot predict what your Instagram is going to look like on a Tuesday. Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, none of them are afraid of a strong black woman. They spent 9 figures making Serena the most bankable female athlete of her generation. What they are afraid of is a situation where the athlete's brand voice, the boyfriend's brand voice, and the broadcaster's brand voice all start blending into one chaotic timeline that no PR firm can control. That is what Claressa's team has not figured out yet. It is not the boxing that is scaring the checks off. It is the caption box. Third, systemic angle, the manufactured narrative machine. This is the deepest layer. And it is where I want you to pay closest attention. Look at the pattern of the celebrity comparisons in that Alton Walker interview. Claressa did not just say Ali. She said Ali was too loud, too bravado, too confident. She did not just say Serena. She said Serena was too big, too strong. She did not just say Jordan. She said Jordan wasn't that great. Every single trait she picked out of those legends is a trait people currently criticize her for. That is not comparison. That is projection dressed up as an analogy. She is not describing legends. She is describing herself and hoping the legend label sticks by association. And here is why that is a manufactured narrative move. It is engineered. It is deliberate. Somebody sat down and decided that the way to reposition Claressa in the culture was to line her up next to figures whose criticisms mirror hers, so that the criticism itself becomes a badge of greatness. On paper, that is smart PR. In practice, it only works if the audience buys it. And the audience did not buy it, because the audience can tell the difference between a legend who was criticized and became a monument, and a talented athlete who is currently being criticized and is nominating herself for the monument in advance. You do not get to skip the middle part. You do not get to declare yourself Ali before you have had your Zaire. Fourth, systemic angle, and this one is the quietest, but the most dangerous, the erasure of Papoose. Papoose spent 20-plus years building a reputation as one of the sharpest lyricists in New York. He was known as a punchline king. Battle rappers studied his catalog. Kids who wanted to be technical rappers referenced his mixtape work. That is a real cultural asset. And right now, in real time, that cultural asset is being converted into Claressa's boyfriend. Every time his Instagram posts something that does not sound like him, every time his page becomes a mouthpiece for somebody else's messaging, another piece of his rap identity dies. Because rap is a genre where the voice matters more than almost anything else. And if the industry can no longer identify his voice on his own page, the industry stops calling him for verses. That is how a legacy artist gets erased without a single diss track ever being aimed at him. He gets erased by association. And nobody's talking about that, because everybody is too busy watching the woman he is dating. Papoose's legacy is on the line, and the man does not even seem to know it. Fifth systemic angle: the psychological warfare imbalance. Remy Ma has been in the game for 25 years. She has done federal time. She has come home and rebuilt her career from the ashes. She knows exactly how to bait an opponent into overcommitting. And what she did with that Connie Diamond feature was surgical. 8 bars. 1 line. And Claressa has spent 6 months of her life responding to it. That is not a beef. That is a chess move against a checkers player. Remy does not have to release another bar. Remy does not have to sit down for an interview. Remy does not have to do anything except let Claressa keep talking. Because every time Claressa opens her mouth, Remy gets free promotion, and Claressa gets another sponsor to reconsider. That is the imbalance nobody is naming. And now here is the truth bomb that nobody in hip-hop media is ready to say out loud. Ready? Claressa Shields is not losing to Remy Ma. Claressa Shields is not losing to Cardi B. Claressa Shields is not even losing to Aya Wilson. Claressa Shields is losing to the version of herself she keeps forcing the culture to look at. And that version, the one on Alton Walker's couch, the one behind the small hands, small fee caption, the one nodding along when a corporate broadcaster tweets like a groupie, that version is systematically dismantling the version of Claressa that spent 15 years earning the resume the culture actually respects. This is a self-inflicted collapse. This is a public figure whose greatest opponent is not another fighter, not another rapper, and not another athlete. It is her own inability to close the caption box and let the boxing speak. And the reason this is a truth bomb and not just a criticism is because of what it reveals about the current media ecosystem. In this new attention economy, an athlete's brand is no longer built by their performance. It is built by the sum of every micro moment they release into the timeline. Every interview, every caption, every retweet, every silence. Claressa's boxing brand is being outweighed in real time by her media brand. And her media brand is currently a liability. The industry is watching this happen and taking notes. There are 3 separate PR firms in New York and Los Angeles that are reportedly using this situation as an internal case study for what happens when an athlete does not have adult supervision on their communications. Sponsors are reportedly quietly re-evaluating their women's boxing exposure. Broadcasters are reportedly re-examining their social media handbook after the DAZN tweet. This one situation from this one athlete is triggering structural conversations in offices that Claressa will never sit in. And the most damaging part, the part that should keep her up at night, is that Aya Wilson does not have to say a single word. Aya Wilson is out here stacking championships, MVP awards, Time magazine covers, and quiet endorsement deals, while Claressa is out here in a fight against a diss track that was 8 bars long. That is the cultural gap right there. That is the difference between an athlete who understands the assignment and an athlete who keeps rewriting the assignment on the whiteboard. Aya is playing the long game. Claressa is playing the notification game. And in 5 years, when we look back at this exact stretch, we are going to identify November 2025 as the moment Claressa Shields had a real chance to be the female Ollie she keeps calling herself, and instead became a cautionary tale about what happens when the interviews stop being tools and start being weapons pointed at yourself. Media schools will teach this. Sports business courses will reference it. And every young athlete coming up behind her is going to be shown this clip as an example of what not to do when the microphone is on. That is not a beef. That is a legacy being deleted in slow motion, one caption at a time. And Claressa cannot see it because she is too busy telling us she is the one, not the two. But here is the resolution. And this is where I need y'all to lock in with me for 1 more minute. Because in every one of these stories, there is always somebody quietly doing the work while the noise happens around them. And in this story, that person is not even in the frame most of the time. Aya Wilson does not sit for chaos interviews. Aya Wilson does not send her boyfriend to post about her body. Aya Wilson does not need a broadcaster to tweet inappropriate compliments to stay relevant. Aya Wilson stacks championships, wins awards, shows up on time, does her media day, and goes home. That is the discipline. That is the blueprint. And it is not about Aya being perfect. It is about Aya understanding that the caption box is not the arena. The arena is the arena. Everything else is noise. Remy Ma, also in her own way, is doing the same thing. 8 bars. That is all she said. She has not done a single follow-up interview trashing Claressa. She has not made a diss album. She has not clogged the timeline with subtweets. She dropped a line, let it live, and went back to her life. That is discipline too. Different genre, same principle. The people who are winning in this story are the ones who understand that silence is a strategy, not a weakness. And the people who are losing are the ones who cannot stop responding to shots that were not even fully aimed at them. One person collects trophies and lets the trophies do the talking. The other person tries to build a case for a trophy she did not win, on an interview couch, 6 months after the fact. That is the contrast right there. That is the whole story in one sentence. And what makes this a hero resolution is that the receipts are already public. The evidence is already on the timeline. Nobody has to campaign for Aya. Nobody has to campaign for Remy. The work speaks for itself. And Claressa, if she wanted to, could join that club tomorrow, because her resume genuinely qualifies her for it. She has the Olympic golds. She has the world titles. She has the undisputed status. The boxing side of Claressa Shields is legitimately great. The media side of Claressa Shields is what is dragging the boxing side underwater. And the good news, if she is listening, which she probably is not, because that is not the pattern, is that the fix is free. The fix is silence. The fix is 3 months of no interviews, no captions, no reactive posts, no Cardi mentions, no Remy references, no comparisons to Ali. 3 months. Just train. Just fight. Just win. If she does that, the culture will let her back in. Hip-hop loves a comeback. Boxing loves a comeback. America loves a comeback. But the comeback requires the log-off, and the log-off requires the discipline. And the discipline is the exact thing missing from the tape right now. So the hero resolution is not that Claressa loses forever. The hero resolution is that the culture is showing her, in real time, exactly what she has to do to win. She just has to be quiet long enough to hear it. And this is only the start. Because there are 2 things coming down the pipeline that are going to escalate this whole situation before the end of the year. First, Claressa's next fight card is going to test everything we just talked about. If the pay-per-view numbers underperform her actual talent level, that is going to confirm every sponsor's private analysis. And if she goes on another interview run after that fight and delivers another I'm the one moment, we are going to be right back here having this exact conversation with a longer receipt. Second, Papoose has a decision to make. He can either reclaim his own public voice, drop a real bar-heavy project, and remind the industry why he was called the Punchline King, or he can keep letting his Instagram become a shared account. And by this time next year, his rap career will be a footnote in somebody else's love story. That decision is going to happen soon. And when it does, this channel is going to be the first to break it down for you in full. So you already know what to do. Smash that like button so the algorithm knows we are telling the truth over here. Drop a comment with your take, because I read every single one, and I am genuinely curious whether y'all think Claressa can save this. And hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the follow-up video. Because I am telling you right now, there's going to be a follow-up, and it is going to be a big one. And before you click off, go watch the next video I have queued up for you. Because there is a completely separate situation brewing right now involving one of the biggest names in New York rap, a leaked studio session, and a phone call that reportedly happened at 3 in the morning that changes the entire way we have been reading a beef the whole culture thought was over. That video is 1 click away, and once you see who is on the call, you are going to understand why nobody in the media has touched it yet. Click it now. Trust me, you are going to want to see this one.